I know we also only one bathroom on this floor, so I know we have to take some time, which is totally fine. When it comes before closings, you'll probably just get 2 to 3 minutes to clean up your council table, collect your notes, but probably not an expedited break, just due to the fact that we're going to run close. Are we all back and ready to proceed?
The state's back and ready to proceed, Your Honor.
The defense is what, right?
Close the door. And with that, does the defense have any witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor, the defense would like to call Ms. Anyone Reed.
Good afternoon, Ms. Quaid. You may proceed when you're ready.
Hi, Ms. Anyone Reed. Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
I'm inappropriate.
And could you tell the court a little bit about yourself?
I could go on all day because I love myself, but I've done a lot of things over the years. I've been a tour guide. When I was a little kid, I was in a commercial, and now I was the new host of season 10 of Sabotage. The Sabotage.
And what's your relationship to today's case?
Today's case, I was in season 5 of the Sabotage, and I got invited back because I was a fan favorite, and I was in season 10, the host, when Ron was died.
And could you tell me a little bit about the show Saboteurs?
The show is very complicated, so I'll explain it very slowly. So first is a combination of like the game Werewolf and Clue, and all the contestants are called patrons. And then some of them are saboteurs, some of them are nobles. 3 of them after the first day are selected to be saboteurs, and then towards the end of the show, the killing spree is done. After every elimination, it's hard to explain. After every elimination, someone is voted off the show or either kicked off, and that's considered a murder. And then after the end of the show, there's 3 contestants left, and the killing spree is done.
And are there any rules to this game?
Yes, this is a pitch check.
Would you recognize the pitch deck if I showed it to you?
Yes, I will.
Your Honor, permission to approach my witness?
Yeah, you don't have to ask for your own witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you ask that you show opposing counsel before approaching?
Yes,
the
Your
witness?
Honor. Let the record reflect I'm approaching the opposing counsel with exhibit 1. My witness, Your Honor. Would Your Honors like a courtesy talk?
Yes.
Ms. Dews, what did I just hand you? Or Ms. Quaid, what did I just hand you?
The saboteur's pitch check.
And does it appear to be clear and accurate?
Yeah.
Your Honor, pursuant to stipulation 11, this exhibit is pre-admitted.
Okay. Is that your
That's the
understanding?
state's understanding as well, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Ms. Dews, does this pitch deck say anything about sabotages?
Yes, it does. And 8. Yeah. Really. Yeah.
What does it say?
Nothing in the rules prevent any player Salvatore Noble from Informal Sabotage. Informal Sabotage might look like making a gagging noise in the same food challenge to imitate player.
Ms. Zeus, could you please read lines 43 and 44 on the first page?
They may unanimously agree on their target, but only a saboteur can perform the sabotage.
Who is they?
The saboteurs.
I will retrieve that exhibit for you. Ms. Zeus, I want to specifically talk about the language on the show. You said murder and kill. What does that mean in the context of the saboteurs?
So the nobles get to pick who they vote off, or after every elimination, someone gets killed off. So that's what it means that someone was murdered on the show. So yeah.
Was that kind of language widely used?
Yeah, it was widely used on the show.
I want us to talk specifically about season 10. What were the expectations for that season?
Season 10, I told Riley Kay that we should do an all-star season because ratings have been low, so bringing all the fan favorites will be good. And it was a lot of pressure to get the ratings back up. So yeah.
Why was there pressure?
Because the ratings have been very low. It was went from season 2, which was like this 10 rating, and then last season 9 was like 4 ratings, so we're trying to get it back up. And it got all the all-stars like Robert Armstrong, Mel Dewes, and Charlie Martin to come back.
So what was the response to the environment on the set of these episodes?
There was a lot of pressure. There's always been a lot of pressure between the contestants, between the nobles and the saboteurs.
And was there anything that the producers did?
Yeah, the producers will, like me, in certain instances, will ask certain contestants to maybe repeat something after certain things to, make it good and make it look good for reality TV.
And was that representative of reality?
No, it wasn't. At the end of the day, it was just a show, but to make views go up, we will exaggerate certain things.
Ms. Quaid, I want to talk specifically about a wood cleaner. Are you aware of a wood cleaner?
Yeah, it was a wood cleaner in this black house.
And would you recognize a label if I showed it to you? Let the record reflect that I'm approaching opposing counsel with what's been trademarked as Exhibit 13. And my witness in turn. Your honors have it first?
We do.
Ms. Hughes, what did I just give you?
This is the label and the wood cleaner that was in this black house.
And could you please describe this label?
At first hand, it's very colorful. It looks like the poster for our 80s party, to be honest, but yeah.
And at first glance, would you believe this to be toxic?
No. Except the warning right there.
Would you believe it to be harmful? I can retrieve that for you. Ms. Quaid, I want to specifically talk about the relationship between Charlie Martin and Rob Armstrong. What did you observe that to be?
Well, I knew they had a lot of tension between them because of the season 2. And I knew Charlie had some resentment still there, but I just thought it was just routine.
Objection under Rule 602 speculation, or sorry, 701 speculation, may I be heard?
Yes.
The witness just testified about the defendant having resentment towards Rob Armstrong. There's no foundation as to.
And just to clarify, you are going 602 speculation, not 701 lay witness opinion, yeah?
701, yes. I meant to say 701, it's my apologies.
I just believe 701 is the improper lay witness of opinion. Is that what you're objecting under?
I guess I'll change it to 602.
Oh, sorry. A response to the speculation.
To speculation, Your Honor?
Yes.
I don't believe that my witness has stepped into the mindset of another individual yet. My witness has testified to her rationally based perception of the rivalry between the two, not specifically the mindset.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor. The statement that she just made would require her to go into the mind of the defendant and say those things, which she cannot possibly do.
Could you just refresh my mind on the statement one more time?
I believe it was. Can you read the statement? I'm sorry.
I said from what I see from season 2, Charlie still has some resentment.
I think I misheard the statement. I'm going to withdraw my objection.
Okay, with Withdrawn objection with the testimony being that it seemed like that. We're gonna move on with overruled.
So, Ms. Quaid, do you think that the rivalry between the two was real?
No, I just thought it was for the show.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, sir. May I proceed?
You may proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Quaid.
Good morning.
Now, you mentioned on direct that you were the host of the saboteurs, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you also mentioned that you were familiar with the defendant's betrayal.
Yes, I was.
And you'd agree with me, you believe that the defendant was pretty hurt by that, right?
Yeah, she was.
You agree with me, they were hurt from the time of season 2 up until season 10.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's talk about season 10 because you'd agree with me, you believe the defendant, they conducted some informal sabotages on Rob Armstrong, right?
Yeah.
And some of those sabotages you believe included tampering with Rob's teeth,
Yeah.
tampering with his food,
Yeah, but all these sabotages had to go first to Riley K. For them to be allowed.
well, then I just yes to my question, the defendant was still tampering with Rob Armstrong's food, right?
Yes.
Right, but those were just informal sabotages. Let's talk about the sabotages that we do know about, because you know the defendant sabotaged Rob during episode 5,
Yeah.
and again during episode 8,
Yeah.
and again during episode 9. Now let's talk about episode 9. So this challenge consisted of a grueling obstacle course, right? And the defendant put extra weights in Rob Armstrong's bag.
Yeah. Riley K. first.
Well, that's my question. The defendant still put those weights in the bag.
Yes.
And at the end of the obstacle course, they had to go through a diving portion. They had to wear a mask and scuba gear, right?
Yes.
You'd agree with me the defendant was breathing heavily at this time?
The defendant?
My apologies. Rob Armstrong was breathing heavily at this time?
Yeah, from what I observed, he was struggling.
Right. And you know, when he put on the mask, he started coughing, right?
Yeah. That was a hard watch.
It's a hard watch, that's right. He started coughing uncontrollably.
Yeah.
Then Rob Armstrong would dive into the water, and he would never resurface, right, Ms. Quaid?
Unfortunately,
Now, I'd like to talk more about why the defendant targeted Rob so many times throughout season 10. So you conducted a pre-production interview of the defendant, right?
oh, yeah, I did.
Every time you brought up Rob's name, the defendant wanted to move on.
Yeah, he said that it was in the past and it's all good now, but he really did want to move on from that.
Is your testimony today that the defendant said it was in the past and it was all good today?
Not that it was like all good today, but he just wanted to move on.
Right, he wanted to move on.
Mhm.
And after the interview was over, you turned the camera off.
Yeah.
You stopped asking interview questions.
Yeah.
Now, the defendant said some things to you that you found kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I did. I just told Riley K. about it. Yeah.
Well, that's my question. The defendant looked at you and said some things you found disturbing.
Yeah, I did.
Riley K wasn't present in that room, right?
No.
Let's talk about what he said to you. The defendant first said to you, I know you're all still laughing at me, right?
Yeah. She did.
Then she said, this time, it's for real.
Yeah.
And now, to be clear, with the cameras off, and the interview over, the defendant looked you in the eyes and said, this time, I'm sorry, the defendant said, I'm going to make sure that Rob bleeds before he goes home in a
Objection, Your
box.
Honor. We'd like to object to prejudicial under Rule 403.
You may as well.
We believe that the statement is substantially outweighed the probative value as it's being taken extremely out of context. As we know that these sort of statements were widely used on the show, within the realms of the game show, the statement shouldn't be taken for the truth value and is prejudicing the jury.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may, but before you respond, just remind me of the statement one more time.
All right, the statement is, well, I didn't get this finished, but it was going to be, I'm going to make sure that Rob bleeds before he goes home in a box.
Okay.
All right, so first of all, the witnesses testified that the cameras were off, the interview was over. They weren't even on the set of the saboteurs, so using these terms wouldn't make sense. Second of all, this is a murder trial where the defendant is accused of killing Rob Armstrong. The defendant stating that he's going to send the murder victim home in a box is extremely probative to today's case.
Overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll re-ask my question. The defendant looked you in the eyes and said, "I'm going to make sure that Rob bleeds before he goes home in the box."
Yeah, you just do that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any redirect examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Quaid, I want to talk about the filming on the saboteurs. Were contestants always aware when the cameras were filming?
No, they weren't always aware.
And so, I want to talk about the editing a little bit. As the host, did you play any role?
Yeah, during the first dinner, Bob and Charlie were kind of staring at each other, and then towards the end of the dinner, Charlie was like, "I'm gonna murder you this time." But it was in the cost of the game show, and the cameras were filming, so I just guess he was saying that he was gonna eliminate him. And the cameras weren't rolling, so I was like, this is good reality TV show, so we should like pick it back up and say it again. And he just did. She just did.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any recross?
Recross. May I proceed?
You may.
Ms. Quaid, I want to make one thing very clear to the jury. This was not on the set of the saboteurs, right? When the defendant stated that quote.
Objection, Your Honor. This is out of the scope of my redirect.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
The witness, opposing counsel just testified that the term murder was used in the context of the show. I'm simply stating out that the term that the defendant used it in was not in the context of the show.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
That specific quote I did not reference at all during my redirect.
We don't have a court reporter. Do you have anything else? Do you have any other response?
Yes, Your Honor. The witness, I keep calling witness, I apologize. The opposing counsel just came up here to redirect the witness on the statement of murder and how it was used in the saboteurs. I'm simply coming back up here to explain that the defendant used the term not within the context of the show. The show wasn't even happening at this point. I'm just clarifying what opposing counsel just stated on redirect.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yeah.
So the statement specifically that opposing counsel is referencing is what they talked about in their cross-examination, specifically the quote that was said outside of the realms of the TV show. During my redirect, I specifically asked the witness to talk about what happened in the TV show, and so this is outside of the scope of my redirect.
All right. Yeah. Unfortunately, my stenographer is sick today, so I don't have a court reporter. But I do remember a question on the redirect about do the people know the cameras are always rolling? I guess that in some way relates. I wish we had a reporter, but we don't. I'm just going to allow the question for the witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. I'll ask my question. I want to make one thing very clear to the jury. Now, when the defendant said to you, "I'm going to make sure that Rob bleeds before he goes home in a box," they weren't on the saboteurs.
Yeah, that was the pre-interview before the show. Yeah.
And you'd agree with me the cameras were off too, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions.
Another redirect examination based off of that?
No, Your Honor.
Your turn. Do we have any other witnesses to call from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Dr. Miller to the stand.
Good afternoon, Dr. Lynn.
May I proceed?
You may.
Good afternoon. Please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Dr. Mika Lin, Nicalin.
What do you do for work, Doctor?
I am the Chief Clinical Psychologist at the Forensic Evaluation Center.
Does that require an educational background?
Yes, I got my BS in psychology from Carnegie Mellon, and then I got my Doctor of Psychology from Pepperdine.
What has your work experience been like since then?
I have over 20 years of experience in the field of psychology.
Do you have any specializations?
Yes, I specialize in both clinical and forensic psychology.
Have you ever worked with reality TV before?
Yes, I worked for 2 years as a psychological consultant for Pullman and Smith Production Studios, where I evaluated hundreds of potential participants and I also wrote a paper on the psychological effects of participating in reality TV.
Let's move on and talk about today's trial. Why are you testifying in this case?
I did the evaluation of Charlie Martin.
Did you review any external documents before beginning this evaluation?
Yes, I viewed all available footage of Season 2 and Season 10 of The Saboteurs, along with the psychological evaluations done by Celltech Studios prior to both of these seasons.
And what did these reports from Celltech Studios tell?
For Season 2, there was no concerns about Charlie's psychological well-being, but for Season 10, they diagnosed Charlie with both borderline PTSD and borderline OCD.
I want to move on to talk about your evaluation itself. What steps did you take?
I started with an interview and observations, and then I moved on to the Big 5 index using a subscale. Then for my forensic evaluation, I used the MSC and the RFRAX.
Are these industry standard techniques?
Yes, they are the golden standard.
Were they applied correctly in this case?
Yes.
Let's talk about each one of those individually. In the interview in particular, what were you looking for?
I was looking for how Charlie reacted to certain things, specifically Rob Armstrong and the Saboteurs.
And how did Charlie react?
For Season 2, in the beginning, Charlie used more positive terms to describe Rob Armstrong and the show, but there's a shift towards the end of the season towards more negative terms.
Did Charlie tell you anything about their goals on the show?
Yeah, she just wanted to win the game.
Let's move on to the Big 5. Can you tell me a little bit more about what the Big 5 index is?
The Big 5 Index is a 44-question survey that evaluates 5 big personality traits. In psychology, we have a fun little acronym to remember it. You either use OCEAN if you're cool, or canoe if you're lame. And it stands for openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
How long does it typically take a patient to complete these 44 questions?
It typically takes less than 10 minutes.
How long did it take Charlie Martin?
About 8.
Does the patient respond to all of these questions himself?
Yes.
Is there a possibility that a patient could manipulate the results by answering these questions falsely?
I use the self-accepted enhancement subscale of the balanced inventory of desirable responding alongside the BFI to help mitigate the effects of any deceptive or self-accepted answers.
Let's take a step back. I want to talk about your evaluation as a whole. What conclusions, if any, were you able to make about Charlie Martin?
I was able to conclude that Charlie viewed any act of sabotage on the show as a harmless act, and that Charlie Martin was easily manipulated and had both emotional and impulsivity control issues.
Viewing any sabotage as a harmless act seems like a bold claim. Why did you reach this conclusion?
I reached this due to Charlie's reassurance of safety nets put in place by the production staff.
You mentioned prior diagnoses earlier in this conversation. Were you able to make any diagnoses of your own?
Yes, I diagnosed Charlie with PTSD and OCD.
What are PTSD and OCD?
PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, and OCD is obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Were you able to identify a particular trauma that caused Charlie's PTSD?
Yes, I can say to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty that the betrayal of Season 2 caused Charlie's PTSD.
Did Charlie's PTSD, to your knowledge, have any effect on him during Season 10?
Yes, Charlie was constantly re-traumatized by being back on the show, and Charlie experienced a temporary break from reality before the filming of Episode 9, the night before.
Do we have a cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, Dr. Lin. You mentioned that you're a psychologist, correct?
Yes.
And you performed a psychological evaluation on the defendant.
Yes, I did.
Now, during your evaluation, you observed their demeanor, correct?
Yes, as is typical.
And you noticed that at certain times, they couldn't stay calm.
Yes.
You noticed that sometimes they would get angry,
Yes.
especially whenever you brought up the name Rob Armstrong.
Yes, when I brought up Rob Armstrong in the context of after season 2.
Now, the defendant told you what they thought of Rob Armstrong, correct?
Yes.
The defendant used words like weasel,
Yes.
narcissist,
Yes.
vain,
Yes.
backstabber.
Yes.
The defendant told you that whenever they saw Armstrong's fame, it reminded them of their own failures.
Yes.
That Armstrong had embarrassed them on a global stage.
Yes.
They said that they even loathed Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, I want to move on and talk about what the defendant did to Rob Armstrong. You're aware that Miss Martin implemented a sabotage onto Armstrong during the final challenge, correct?
Yes.
The defendant told you that they put extra weight in Armstrong's bag, correct?
Yes.
They told you that this was the only sabotage they implemented.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Lin, you don't want your clients to lie to you, correct?
No.
You told the defendant that if you thought that they were lying, you would include it in your report.
Yeah, it was included in my report.
You told the defendant that if you thought that they were lying, you would not testify today.
Yes.
You told the defendant that if you thought that they were manipulating your results, you would not testify.
That is correct.
Now, I want to talk about how truthful the defendant has really been with you. I'm going to read something off of Ms. Martin's interview pursuant to pre-trial motion C. Permission to approach opposing counsel.
You may.
Let the record reflect that I'm approaching the witness with Ms. Martin's interview. I believe your honors already have a courtesy copy.
This is the interview with Charlie Martin at Sheriff County's Sheriff's Department.
Yes, and we're going to be looking at lines 192 to 195. Please follow along as I read
What
aloud.
page number?
Oh, sorry, number 5. Lines 192. Please follow along as I read aloud. Officer, so you admitted then, you gave this oxalic acid to Rob Armstrong. Martin, yes, I did. Officer, when did you do it? Martin, before the challenge on episode 9, I put it in Rob's diving mask. Now, Dr. Lin, you would agree with me that the defendant never told you that they put oxalic acid in Rob Armstrong's mask.
That is correct.
Dr. Lin, you would agree with me that they lied to you when they told you the only sabotage they did was adding extra weights.
We
It's
never.
actually a compound question.
Explain.
It's possible I misheard, but I believe there was a question about lying and also a question about the only sabotage being extra weights.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
To restate my question, I said, you would agree with me that the only sabotage, that they lied to you, that the only sabotage they did was adding extra weights to the bag. I'm confused where the compound question is.
May I respond? I heard and, not fact, so I'll withdraw my objection. My apologies.
For which, therefore, rule, but you may continue.
Let me restate the question. Dr. Lin, you would agree with me that the defendant lied to you about that the only sabotage they did was putting extra weights into the bag.
We never explicitly defined what a sabotage was.
Is it your testimony today that you never explicitly identified what a sabotage was?
I do not believe that we had a explicit definition in my evaluation.
Dr. Lin, you reviewed, you're familiar with the show The Saboteurs, correct?
No, not really. I'm not a big TV person.
But the defendant talked to you about the show The Saboteurs.
Yeah, in the sense of more broadly about Rob Armstrong.
Yes, and they talked about the sabotages they did.
Yeah, not the specific rules